Hi, I'm Dave, and welcome to Project Minded. This video is going to serve as a reboot of the channel. The two videos previous is a project I'm still working on, but the shortage of lumber actually made it hard pause because I couldn't put the stringers and the floor back into it. So that's going to get addressed here shortly now that lumber is starting to be made available, as well as my full-time work got so busy things kind of went by the wayside. So to get us in line with what's going on with all my projects and what the ideas are behind them, I'm just going to start with what started the idea of videoing this project. I had some family members and friends that were really curious about how I fixed this machine, as well as some of the accessories it came with, in order to make, well, my property more manageable. This is a 1980s or late 70s era International 184 tractor. It's about in the neighborhood of 20 horsepower when it was new. It's hydraulic belly as well as a 3-point on it. It came with the mowing deck. It's about 60 inches wide. I also have a tiller for it and a 3-point hitch snowblower that I had to modify to make work, which prompted some questions and some interest in how I made it all go together. So in that end, we do have some tidying up work to do on that particular snowblower, as well as some other projects too, and they're going to be kind of videos produced as I get to them, rather than trying to follow a project through start to finish, because with parts availability as well as time, it just doesn't work that way. So I'm just going to start to put out things as I get to them instead, because that's more of how I work, and I think that rather than wrestling with that idea, I'll keep that moving forward with the videos, because that's just how my brain works. Anyway, so this will be the starting point, and now I'm going to take you through, well, everything else, I suppose, in the property, and tell you what the plan is as soon as I figure those out. This here is a 1984 Corvette CS. It has a 1.6 liter gas engine in it. It is the automatic version of the car, and as anybody that knows these, there's not much to it. It's manual steering, manual brakes. It's got tiny little 13-inch wheels on it. Not much to it, really. This particular car needs a few things. The brakes need a once-over, some general, lines probably need replacing due to rust and corrosion. The other detail with this particular car is that the floor is totally rotted out in some places with some holes, so there's going to be sheet metal work involved. My intent with this car is going to make it a, daily driver, just something to use. For some reason, he loves it. And the idea is to use it as a day-to-day cruiser. Nothing special. I don't want to modify this too heavily. The interior is super clean in it. It runs, it drives, it stops. I mean, it needs some tidying up, but I mean, for a car that's over 30 years old, it's really in decent shape. The doors are really straight, the car body's really straight, so we'll see what we get out of it. What's going to be included in these videos is probably the sheet metal repair work at the floor. Might include just a quick overview of the brakes and seals and some other stuff as I see that it needs. Probably going to have to get a little bit of the cooling system tidied up, but again, these are relatively minor things for the age of this car, and it still moves and shakes, so we'll see how we go. This is my workhorse. It is a 1996 Chev 3/4 ton 2500 HD. It's got the 6.5 diesel with a NV 4500 manual transmission, 241 transfer case. Part of what makes this truck interesting is there's very few of this combination. It's got the manual transmission, it's got the full float rear axle in it, and with the 6.5 diesel, it's just genuinely a nice fun truck to drive. This truck is kind of, in my mind, a stock plus kind of plan. What I mean by that is this this truck is going to remain stock, and as I wear parts out and do things, it's just going to be stock plus, a little nicer elements as things go. For example, I mean, these wheel sizes didn't come on this truck out of the factory, so you step the tires up. The next thing on this is probably going to be some engine work. The 6.5 diesels are known for destroying the heads, and I'm pretty sure it might be a head gasket on the way out, or we do have that typical cracking problem that was known on these Detroit diesels. The plan for that would be hopefully slug it through another year, through next summer at the very least, and then afterwards I'd be looking at either getting a core that I could then do a rebuild on an engine stand or a belt or a bench, and build that up to the point where when it comes time, it's just a matter of swapping one for one. The big reason for that is this is my, like I said, workhorse. It towed the Chevette home, did a scrap metal run, and did some other work, and that's just in the last couple of weeks. So I don't have the real desire to have this thing down for a number of weeks or even months while I try to engine swap it with something too fancy. The next thought I have with that is they make Optimizer 6500 blocks with these, which are a redesign of the 6.5. The important aspect of that is they fixed the known head issue in their castings. They also slightly improved some other designs, but it is a drop-in replacement for this truck. So it's a matter of pulling one, dropping that in, and then everything's brand new. While that's going on, I would also consider doing some minor body work, tidy up. I mean, it's in excellent shape, but there is a cab corner that's on the way out. We'd also pull the box and maybe enamel the frame front and back and do some line replacements, just tidy things up, because we can make this truck, while it is already a 25-year-old vehicle, make it go and look good for another 25 years quite easily, as long as we get on top of it now. So this is my 96 Chev diesel, and we're going to move on to the next one. Alright, now moving on from that to this. This is my new to me 2004 KTM 950 Adventure. This bike here is quite the change from my other motorcycle. I won't bother featuring it just because I'll be selling it here soon. That is a 2007 ZX6 Ninja that I did have. I enjoyed it. I had it for almost 12 years, and it's just not what I really need these days. This provides some, flexibility, some access to the different trails that are in the area, as well as some more utility with what I want to do. With this particular machine, it is a high mileage bike, but it was taken care of pretty well. On this machine, we're going to do some tidy up things probably before we get to anything else. It has a very minute leak, oil leak near the sleeve of the clutch, so that's not really a big deal. It's a gasket set and a little bit of tidy up. Some of the other pieces it does have heated grips installed, but they no longer work. I think the grips themselves are the issue, but the wiring is already there, so we're going to swap those out. Other than that, we're just going to maybe, it has a crash cage and a luggage rack on it. I might paint those up just to, clean them up a little bit and do some minor tweaks to it, but it's going to be pretty much an as-is thing for now. Any engine work and all the rest is probably going to be in the same vein. It's just going to be maintenance. So no real modifications for this particular machine, but it's me and you never know. So the previous owner already did some things, or I should say the previous owners, because it has changed hands a few times. The mirrors are not what came with its stock. There's some of these extra off-road lights that were added to it, the heated grips like I mentioned earlier. The luggage racks and hard cases and stuff are stock options, but they were additions as far as I understand. after this was purchased, just as the bare bike. So anyway, that covers off this machine, and we'll move on. So I figured this is the way it should end. On the one side we have the boat that the channel started with. There's already information on that. It's 70s Thundercraft. We're just going to do a nice restoration on it. The modifications are going to be pretty slight, but that just comes with the new parts that are going on it. That piece will get spoken about when we get back to it. However, I really believe that the video should finish with what started me in working on stuff. This is my 1991 S10. It was a 4.3 V6 truck with a 700 R4 automatic in it, two-wheel drive. I had this as a teenager. It was basically rescued out of a gas station by my father, who did a quick engine swap in it for one that worked, because that's why it was parked, is the engine blowing in it. So that was kind of a surprise to me, to make it easier for me to go back and forth to college. I fell in love with this truck. He thought I'd just use it for a couple of years and then move on with my life as most adults do, but I ended up rebuilding it. He did a good touch-up on it for paint once, and then the rust got to it again, and then I took it apart and redid it again. The negative to that is while I did coat the frame, too little too late. The frame ended up cracking really bad due to the rust. So when that happened and I had to park it anyway, that was about the time where it was like, you know what, this was going to end up a project at some point in my life, so may as well go forward with that. The intent with this is going to be, this is a 350 small block V8. It's going to get paired with an NV3500 5-speed transmission, paired with a new process 241 transfer case, and it's going to sling power to the front and back through these Dana 44 axles. They're out of a, I think, mid-70s Jeep. The wheel mounting surface shouldn't be displaced by more than an inch or two either side, because they are the narrow builds. I don't want this to be a big monster truck. I just want it to be a very trail capable vehicle that can, you know, do the daily driving thing just as well. This is going to be probably the long haul build for me, but there's going to be some minor things that are going to help that along. Namely, I mean, we've got this on the floor here. It's a two-post 8,000 pound lift that we're going to be installing and putting a video on with that. All these little things are just basically how I kill my time day to day. So I wanted to complete the video with what started the whole mentality of me plugging stuff together. I'm going to try and video these things regularly, and as well as try to push out content regularly, but it's not my day job. So people will see it as kind of I get around to it, but it's also good motivation for me to keep picking away at this stuff so I don't get lazy with it. Anyway, keep digging, keep welding, keep doing whatever you do, and we'll hopefully see some progress on some of these projects soon.